So, hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen and I make videos about the law, and today we're talking about property law for the FE1 2022, and I think this is the second last video I'm going to make, so I'm very happy about that. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, please log on to lawhero.eu for all the exam materials I want to talk about, and please follow along on Law Hero IRL on Instagram if you want to contact me directly. So I'm just going to take a look at what the examiner said about the property law exam. He did not go through the questions, but he made some random assertions. So basically in October 2021, 85% of people passed the property law exam, which was very good. Students who failed with a mark below 42% generally showed very limited knowledge of what was required to answer the questions, or had some knowledge but a very thin sprinkling and little understanding beyond the memorization of case law or a legal test. So that just goes to show all of you that just because you learn off a legal test and learn the case law even accurately doesn't mean you're going to pass the exam. The passing of the property law exam is application of the law to the facts in a coherent and relevant and specific manner to the question that's asked. If you answer extraneously to what is asked, you could fail even though what you've written per se is accurate. Those who failed with marks between 42 and 48%, which is 2% below the failure rate, very often show good knowledge in one or two questions but very little in others, caught badly for time, failed to give adequate attention to each question, or simply did not put down relevant content on the page to warrant a pass. So what were they asked in 2021? They were asked mortgages, charges, co-ownership, spousal contribution to ownership of property, which will come under my family ownership of property chapter, and succession were popular and generally well answered. The question on adverse possession was a discursive type about policy justifications for this doctrine. I say this every single year when they put in that, do you think the adverse possession law in Ireland should be reformed? And loads of people just write on adverse possession and don't answer the question, should it be reformed? You're going to fail that question because they're looking for some critical analysis and some of your opinion. And he just says here, while some students addressed the question, many just set down the law and lost marks. There were two questions on commercial landlord and tenant which were poorly answered by those who attempted them. Concerning, given how fundamental this area is to legal practice in this country. I agree. My commercial landlord and tenant piece in my book is very well covered, and I would ask you to have a look at it. They do ask residential on the most, but they have started to ask commercial properties a lot of, because in light of COVID-19 and because commercial property in Ireland has become such a hot topic, it is becoming more of an impetus for the examiner. So I would say definitely keep commercial property in the forefront of your brain. And I would say if you're not so inclined, don't answer essay questions which are based around a theoretical knowledge of property law, which would require some critical analysis as well as some extra reading, which is something I didn't do. And you don't need it to pass, but you need it to get high marks. So let's just take a look at what they said in March 2021. And so basically in March 2021, as opposed to October 2021, they were asked a question on property registration. Now, from my experience with FE1 candidates really don't like the topic of property registration, and it's kind of alien to them, and I can understand that. And I'll have a chapter about it at the front of my ebook, simply because of the frequency by which it is asked. So I felt compelled to put it into my ebook, but I can totally understand why not many candidates attempt it, but they do ask it because it is part of the syllabus. So I would say avoid that question if it just doesn't click with you. Indeed, systems of registration of property in Ireland are not the easiest to understand, because we have a land registry and a registration. We have a land registry and registration of deeds, which for archaic reasons still kind of work in tandem. Unlike other jurisdictions, it's just a historical thing, and you learn about it when you go to PPC 1, PPC 2 when you study conveyancing law, but I'd say all in all, don't worry too much about it for the FE1. Question 2 related to proprietary estoppel, which is a much well-loved body of case law in a property law exam. It wasn't asked in October, but I mean, you have to study for equity anyway, so I would say keep an eye out for it. The third question was residential tenancies around the Part 4 Tenancy 2004 Act, and I think it's quite unfair that you're not allowed to bring your Residential Tenancies Act as amended, because it's been amended like in 2019, I think. I think it's quite unfair they don't let students bring that piece of legislation into the exam and like expect people to learn off, I don't know, like section 16, like, and the notice and the obligations of a tenant and all this. I think it's kind of unfair. So what I would say to you is just do your best to try and understand the impetus of the legislation, which is to give, you know, residential tenants more security of tenure. But as I said a moment ago, it seems like the commercial tenancy piece is becoming more of a thing in the FE1. So again, as I said, keep an eye out on that. There'll always be, let me see, on the property law paper, you can bet your bottom dollar that there'll be 2 questions around succession law. So one will usually be on the construction of wills and like section 90 and all of that, and then the other one will be around like the, what do you call it, like the section 77, 78 formalities and capacity requirements. Ownership is also a really hot topic. Marks in March 2021 though, marks were lost where there was an absence of case law to illustrate the points made. So what I would say to you there is, like, for example, I list case law in my ebook, and I always say to people, because I've front loaded all the work in my ebook, what I ask people to do is when they're going down through my ebook, take like a sticky note like this. I think I've shown it in, like, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's like the opening video where I have like, I think it's like Manchester v Gibson, no, Gibson v Manchester County Council. It's like a contract law case. We're talking about offer and acceptance, but I remember that because it's in that video. But the point I'm trying to make to you is, if I list a case in my ebook, I would say print off my ebook. Sorry, I'm not gonna, I would say, because that would be conditional. I'm telling you, if you print off my ebook and there's a case there that I haven't explained well, or I haven't really given you the facts, or you're somehow curious and you want to add some context to your learning, I would write here, for example, I don't know, let me think of a case. Yeah, like right to possession, Bull v Bull, Dennis v MacDonald. I would write those 2 cases out here, like maybe just do one post-it note per case, and then I would just put some like little bullet points of what came up, just to reinforce it in your mind and do some more active learning. There always seems to be a question, Family Home Protection Act 1976, spousal consent under section 3. Some people get confused when it comes to same-sex couples, but of course, since our marriage referendum, that act applies to those couples as well. And then finally, question 8 was around licenses. Bare licenses and contractual licenses. Comoriente is a simultaneous debt which relates to co-ownership. You would have been able to answer that, but contractual licenses and bare licenses, they're like proprietary rights. I don't cover those in my ebook simply because of the lack of frequency by which licenses appear on the exam. So yeah, that is my under 10-minute synopsis of property law, an extremely straightforward exam. Have a little more of a thorough look at the case law though, which seems to be the main driver of the examiner's criticism. See you in the next one, which is tort law.